Let's face it, we're all getting older by the second. Aging is defined as the progressive loss of the efficacy of biochemical and physiological processes that occurs until death. With the obvious allure of prolonging life and aging more gracefully, aging has been and continues to be intensely studied, and as a result, a number of theories have been introduced to explain the aging process. One theory is that the abnormal accumulation of biological waste products in the organism is responsible for organ or tissue sentience, and that leads us to a topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately: glycation. Glycation is a spontaneous, non-enzymatic reaction of free reducing sugars with free amino acid groups of proteins, DNA, and lipids that form what's known as amidori products. These amidori products undergo a variety of irreversible dehydration and rearrangement reactions that lead to the formation of advanced glycation end products, which we'll refer to from here on out simply as AGEs. The glycation process leads to a loss of protein function and impaired elasticity of tissues such as blood vessels, skin, and tendons. The glycation reaction is highly accelerated in the presence of hyperglycemia and tissue oxidative stress, implicating it in the pathogenesis of diabetic complications and aging. Because there's no enzymes to remove glycated products from the human body, the glycation process matches well with the theory that the accumulation of metabolic waste promotes aging. As a result of the interest in glycation, naturally occurring phytochemicals and products have also been sought after with more frequency in recent years. The search for an inhibitor of AGE formation has identified several natural products that prevent the glycation process, and one in particular that shows promise is berberine, such as my go-to GlucoVantage dihydroberberine. Berberine is an isoquinone alkaloid occurring predominantly in roots, rhizomes, and the stem bark of certain plants, and has been used since antiquity in traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic medicines due to their antibacterial, antiprotozoal, and antidiarrheal properties. Numerous scientific studies based on in vitro and in vivo experiments and conducted in various models indicate that berberine regulates glucose metabolism via various mechanisms and signaling pathways. It promotes glycolysis by inhibiting mitochondrial respiratory chain complex 1, inhibits gluconeogenesis in the liver, induces glycolysis in the peripheral tissues, promotes glucagon-like peptide aka GLP-1 secretion in the GI tract, and it activates glucose transport via glucose transporter 1, aka simply GLUT1. It's been shown that this alkaloid can also modulate the gut microbiome, which may prevent obesity and insulin resistance, and that translates to data that berberine has been reported to be useful in type 2 diabetes treatment. As a whole, it reduces the levels of blood glucose and glycated hemoglobin, improves the lipid profile in the serum, reduces body mass, and enhances insulin sensitivity. Now, let's talk briefly about berberine supplementation and why GlucoVantage dihydroberberine provides advantage over the traditional form. A lot of the great stuff that happens with berberine, including stacking up against the prescription drug metformin in certain studies, is done at a whopping 1,500 milligram dose. While this delivers powerful effects, it was reported in some of the studies that up to 35% of subjects had significant gastrointestinal upset when they're taking the 1,500 milligram dose. 35% of participants is no small number. That leads us to advances in nutraceutical research, allowing us to find forms that have a higher potency and a significantly lower amount of material to get the best of both worlds. The potent effects without the GI issues. Enter dihydroberberine. Much more bioavailable than ordinary berberine and achieving similar effects at vastly smaller doses. As the name would suggest, dihydroberberine is produced by adding a hydrogen ion to the berberine molecule, which is something your body was going to do anyway, as dihydroberberine is in fact a berberine metabolite that is produced when the gut microbiome hydrogenates berberine so it can actually be absorbed. Looking a bit closer at this, gut flora converts berberine into dihydroberberine because, unlike berberine, dihydroberberine can pass through intestinal tissue, which enables it to reach the bloodstream. Once it's in the bloodstream, dihydroberberine gets converted back into berberine, resulting in the ability to exert its positive effects. The reason that using dihydroberberine helps avoid the gastric upset is that the first conversion step is a bottleneck in this whole process when we ingest regular berberine. Putting it simply, when we take regular berberine in large doses, gut flora typically can't convert it into DHB fast enough to prevent irritation and upset. This is especially true of people that may need berberine the most. Individuals with diabetes or pre-diabetes typically have poor gut health and reduced microbiome diversity, further adding insult to injury. I'm betting that's the smoothest explanation you've seen thus far for why dihydroberberine is superior to normal forms of berberine. At 5 times the bioavailability, you can use a small amount at 300 milligrams of DHB and get the equivalent effect that you desire from 1500 milligrams of regular berberine. Furthermore, the effects have been shown to last longer, which is always a good thing. So, there you have it. We covered glycation and why it should be a focus, and how berberine such as GlucoVantage can aid in potentially offsetting the negative effects. A rockstar ingredient, GlucoVantage can of course help in mitigating the negatives of glycation, as well as improving glucose uptake, supporting increased insulin sensitivity, improving glucose utilization by your muscle cells, and aiding in better overall body composition. Until next time, this has been Drew Peters, covering glycation and GlucoVantage dihydroberberine.